The gates creak open. He steps into the arena, the weight of the crowd's roar pressing down like the armor strapped to his back. For many, this man is a nameless, faceless figure, destined to die in a bloody spectacle for the amusement of Rome. But what if I told you the truth was far from this brutal fantasy?
He must kill your name before he kills you.
What if the life of a gladiator wasn't just one of death and glory, but of calculated survival, of skilled artistry, and even fame? Forget what you think you know. Gladiators weren't just doomed slaves marching to their deaths. They were celebrated, respected, even loved by the very empire that demanded their blood. Behind the myths of Hollywood and legend lie a far more complex and fascinating reality. Today we're pulling back the curtain on one of history's most misunderstood professions. This is Gladiator Myths versus Reality. The moment of truth, or is it? For years, we've been told that every gladiator fight ended in bloodshed, with one man left lying in the dirt. But what if the reality was far more strategic than savage? What if these warriors had more to fight for than just their lives? Recent archaeological findings in gladiator graveyards like those in Ephesus and York reveal a different truth. Historians now believe that most battles weren't to the death, but were carefully managed, often ending with a fighter conceding when the odds were stacked against him. Their bones tell a story of survival, broken and healed again, evidence of expert medical care that only an investment would receive. Roman texts like those from ancient historian Suetonius describes how referees, known as summa rudis, monitored the fights. These were not chaotic brawls. They were highly regulated matches. Gladiators were treated as assets. A skilled fighter could earn fame, fortune, and maybe even his freedom. Death was deserved for the truly unfortunate, or when the stakes were too high. So next time you picture the arena, remember, gladiators weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting for something even greater, their future. The myth of death in every duel? Consider it busted. The image of a gladiator as an untrained savage brute, clashing blindly in a chaotic fight to the death, has endured for centuries. But recently, discoveries have begun to dismantle this myth. At sites like Pompeii and Carnuntum, the remains of gladiator schools, known as ludi, reveal a world far more sophisticated than we once imagined. Gladiators underwent rigorous, regimented training, documented in frescoes and inscriptions found at these sites. Weapons, armor, and even specialized training equipment like wooden posts and sandpits were unearthed, shedding light on the complex preparation that went into each fight. Gladiators were categorized into distinct roles, each with unique armor and fighting styles. From the net-wielding retiarius to the heavily armored secutor, their fights weren't just wild brawls. They were carefully choreographed performances designed to display both skill and strategy. In fact, recent research from historians, such as those published in the works of Factmarica and Alison Futrell, shows that gladiators were often highly trained athletes revered by Roman society. Some even lived long careers, gaining fame and fortune. Far from being mindless brutes, they were part of a sophisticated system of entertainment, trained to fight not just with brute force, but with precision and skill. The arena, a place of blood, sweat, and spectacle, but only men, right? For centuries, we've been led to believe that gladiatorial combat was strictly a male domain. Yet the sands of time have revealed a different story. In 1996, a marble relief was uncovered in Halicarnassus depicting two women, Amazona and Achillea, locked in combat. This discovery confirmed what Roman historian Dio Cassius hinted at. Female gladiators or gladiatrices did indeed exist, and they weren't just a spectacle. They were part of the elite class of performers. Imagine the courage it took for a woman to step into the arena, defying not just her opponents, but the rigid societal norms of her time. These women weren't just anomalies, they were symbols of empowerment, their presence disrupting the very foundations of gender roles in ancient Rome, showing that strength and resilience weren't limited to men alone. Though rare, female gladiators shattered expectations, both on the sands of the arena and in the pages of history. Their legacy? A reminder that even in a male-dominated world, women have always found ways to wield power, even if that power came in the form of a sword. Hollywood often depicts gladiators as improvising in the heat of battle, using whatever they can find to survive, throwing sand, grabbing loose weapons, or facing off against wild beasts with nothing but their bare hands. But how much of this is true? In reality, gladiator battles were far more structured than these chaotic depictions suggest. Weapons were not random, they were carefully assigned based on a gladiator's class and combat style. Whether it was the short sword of the secutor, the trident of the retiarius, or the curved blade of the thrax, each weapon was specifically chosen to complement the fighter's armor and strategy. This was a carefully orchestrated balance of skill, power, and spectacle, not a free-for-all. And yet that doesn't mean gladiators weren't resourceful. They were masters of their environment. In the trailer for Gladiator 2 in 2024, we see a dramatic twist, using sand to outwit a raging rhinoceros, transforming the arena into a weapon itself. While that may be cinematic flair, it does remind us that gladiators had to be quick-thinking and adaptive in the face of danger. So were gladiator weapons just random tools of war? Hardly. These were calculated choices, tailored to maximize the drama and the skill of each battle. The image of a gladiator shackled in chains, forced to fight for the amusement of masses, has long dominated our understanding of Roman arenas. But is that the whole story? Yes, many gladiators were slaves, captured from conquered lands and thrown into the arena as a brutal form of punishment and entertainment. But not all who entered the ring did so under the whip. Some were free men, even noblemen, who volunteered for glory, fame, and fortune. The allure of the arena was powerful. It could turn slaves into gladiators, and for some, gladiators into free men. This idea is echoed in the upcoming Gladiator 2 trailer, where the line,
"The arena turns slaves into gladiators, the gladiators into free men,"
captures the transformative power of the arena. For many, the promise of freedom was more than just survival, it was victory, and for some, it became a reality. The truth is, the arena wasn't just a place of death. It was also a path of redemption, where those skilled enough could rise above their chains, earning not just their freedom, but a place in history. So were all gladiators slaves? No. The arena, brutal as it was, also offered something else: the chance to carve out a new destiny. Sorry to disappoint you, ladies, but here's one more truth about the regulars of the Colosseum. Thanks to movies like Spartacus, Gladiator, and Centurion, we picture arena fighters as chiseled, half-naked athletes with perfect abs. But the reality was quite different. In truth, many gladiators didn't have the sleek, muscular physiques we've come to expect. Research by anthropologists from the Medical University of Vienna, who studied the remains of these fighters, revealed that their bodies were covered with a layer of subcutaneous fat. Unlike the ripped warriors of Hollywood, real gladiators followed a diet rich in legumes and grains, rather than animal proteins. Historian Pliny the Elder even noted that gladiators were nicknamed hordeari, or barley eaters, a nod to their carbohydrate-heavy diet. This diet wasn't just for show. The extra body fat helped protect them from injuries during fights, which, despite what movies portray, could be bloody and cruel. A well-fed gladiator had a better chance of avoiding damage to internal organs from sword strikes. Their robust, stocky build was a practical advantage in the arena, not a pursuit of a magazine cover physique. So the image of gladiators with perfect abs? That's just a myth. So if you enjoyed the myths versus the reality of gladiator life, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon for more engaging content on Invictus.